hamstring. Hashtag sciatica, hashtag posture, hashtag
What is sciatica?
Sciatica is the shooting pain that you get down your hip.
But
that comes from the SI joint.
Posterior pelvic tilt?
It's when the pelvis is tilted so that the back dips and the front goes up.
Why does that happen?
Well, it's the muscles are tight on one side and loose and weak on the other side. So the pelvis is kind of complex because it's a complex shape and it's got all these, interesting muscles and what they do, how it connects to the legs and the spine and whatever. But basically you have the hip flexors are at the front and the hip extensors are in the back. So the posterior pelvic tilt would be hip extensors are tighter and hip flexors are looser and lax longer.
The front.
Yeah, the front.
And the back is more tighter. And so then does that cause issues with like posture in the way that one walks with their feet and calves?
Yeah, of course.
Because this is what I've been analyzing within myself and solving my leg situation. And I've been noticing that sometimes when I stand, like at work, there's almost like this tilt. I tilt forward. And I thought...
Well, the tilt forward, what you're doing with your body as you're gesturing that is not a posterior pelvic tilt. But I see you're like slouching with your hips forward.
Yeah, and then I noticed that that's how I walk sometimes. So my feet like cave downwards like this, and then that's why like I have a deformity in my foot. And so that's why I got those toe separators, because I thought that would assist, but it was actually pretty painful.
Yeah.
Good job.
Yeah. Well, the posture, you could have someone like analyze, the ins and outs, the details of your posture. The way that I've taught it and what worked for me is a combination of things. First was the yoga and the spotlight imagery.
Okay.
As a way to align the bones and joints.
Wow.
And really coming from a place of you're seeking equanimity, where you're not always correcting your posture. You're actually finding that happy place in the middle that produces zero aggravations elsewhere. So it's not about your hips feeling good or your shoulders feeling good. It's about the whole system feeling good.
Totally.
Because anything that doesn't feel good is indicating something's wrong, and it probably is not right there where it feels bad.
Exactly.
Because the posture's all integrated. So that's why you only have good posture if you fixed it all.
Yeah.
And so it's the spotlight imagery combined with that idea that I'm looking for perfection in my posture, in my regular posture, my regular living posture. And I'm just doing the yoga postures to breathe out the stress, clarify my alignment within myself, well oxygenate, exercise, balance my muscle tension and everything. And so that I can find a place of equanimity physically.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. And you can use it for other things also. You could pray while you're doing it and all of that. You should be, just like in constant prayer.
Right.
So when it comes to and then posterior pelvic tilt or whatever, so you would be feeling a posterior pelvic tilt in joints and in your hips and,
Would you be feeling it in your feet joints? Because that's what I was trying to like all tie in together, that there's a reason why my foot has been doing this, and it's got to be stemming from the hips, the glutes, the calves are right in between. They're like a bridge.
Well, yeah, somewhat. That's one of those things that if you get into all the complexities of it, you'll get really wrapped up in all of that.
Yeah.
Versus it's actually simpler and better and more straightforward to just go for perfection. Just go for instead of trying to solve like this relates to that and this relates to that, because I can see other causes of bone growth or anything like that, the tension and how you use your feet. And yeah, it all comes back to your spine, how you're using your spine, how your posture is, how your head is situated on your shoulders, tension in the tongue jaw area that throws off the lower back, the asymmetries of life like driving, which is what I was going to talk about today anyway. So, all the muscles are pulling on the bones, and how you think about yourself, how you carry yourself, that's how your muscles are activating. And
wow. Yeah, because sometimes I notice when I walk, when I'm thinking differently about the activation of my glutes and legs, I walk up the stairs differently. But if I'm just walking like habitually, I'm not utilizing all of the muscles in the same exact way as if I was just there probably would come a point where, okay, now I've walked with awareness for enough and my body relearned how to walk. But if I ever am walking just like habitually and unconsciously, less effective than when I'm walking consciously, like trying to be in spotlights.
Yeah, I use it very little in living. I'll do
Yeah.
it during the yoga postures and let that just inform my living. So, I'll just naturally do it effortlessly. Like I just want to, if it comes to me, if I think about activating a muscle or think about a spotlight or
Right.
anything like that, then it happens. And if it feels good, I keep doing it. But I'm definitely not forcing it.
Right,
Sometimes
right.
I may have like a little injury or some kind of something that's off,
Yeah.
and then maybe I use the spotlights because I have found that when I activate my spotlights, it seems to dissipate the aggravation a lot, because the aggravation is related to something that's going on somewhere else in your posture.
Right.
And so I need an integrated whole. There's a way to be reductionist, which is the muscle activations, and then that's like be a surgeon. Like when you have this ailment, you do this. When you have this ailment, you do that.
Yeah.
And as an expert, you can do that. And I have found that the weak links are serratus and glute medius, and
Yeah.
serratus just needs strengthening and awakening. Glute medius often needs balancing. The right side's weaker because of driving.
Yeah.
And so those two, and the serratus is like the glute medius of the upper body. The glute medius is the serratus of the lower body. And in my geometry, how I see the body,
So muscle activations of the glute medius.
glute medius and serratus are the most important too.
Yeah.
And maybe the lats would be second or third or whatever.
I feel like I can now activate my serratus just sitting here.
Right. So glute medius, I think, is going to have a lot to do with your hips and pelvis and legs.
Yeah, I need to tap into that one more because oftentimes I don't even feel it. So I need to really start, big. It's not like the glute max, which I can activate really quickly without even moving the leg now. But the glute medius, I need to I don't have this same sense for it the way I do. Like right now, I'm activating my serratus just sitting here.
And really, the key with everything is going to be for the transformation. If you want to transform your posture and how your mind, how does your mind use your muscles? If you want to change that, then you have to do an isolated activation, which means the whole body has to be limp.
Yeah.
And that's the challenge when I was teaching it. People, they hold so much tension in their body, not realizing, and so they can activate that muscle while they're holding other muscles.
Yeah.
But if they let go of all muscles, they can't seem to find the isolated activation, which is where the neural connection is.
Yeah.
So that's what you're going for.
I was there. I was in that place for 2 years. The only thing that kept me practicing the serratus activations and that isolated was just believing what you said.
Right.
I don't know that, if I was just a normie, that if it really have to speak to me for me to keep trying.
I don't understand. What are you saying?
What I'm saying is because I look up to you and I really trust you, for 2 years I kept practicing the serratus activation even though I felt nothing. And I was just what am I even doing? And then now that I've figured it out, that connection clicked from the mind to the muscle, and I'm capable of achieving it, how incredible I feel, how relaxed my neck will get if it's tense, how much did you hear my breath just now? I was that was it opened up my breath in my upper chest, and it was just worth it.
That's 100% accurate. I agree.
Yeah.
So that's amazing. The serratus is connected with the breathing like that. But to some degree, all the muscles do that. When you isolate, activate any of the muscles, you'll feel breath return to you.
Wow.
I'm only isolated activating muscles that are kind of the weak links in the chains. And so it strengthens the whole posture and everything, all these muscles.
Wow.
In the right way. So, balancing the hips. You're driving a lot, driving with the left leg,
Yeah.
Practicing pushing down on the right leg and lifting the left leg. will bring balance to the driving posture.
Interesting.
And I don't know that that's what's happening, but what happens is you do an asymmetric activity,
Yeah.
and then you do a symmetric activity, and then you do an asymmetric activity, and then you do a symmetric activity. And the asymmetries accumulate even if you're doing a symmetrical thing. Like, for example, driving is asymmetrical, then you go to work and you walk a lot. That's symmetrical. But it's going to strengthen a slight asymmetry that was strengthened in the driving. So then gradually you get stronger and stronger and stronger in the asymmetry. And it may not be a sudden, like, something slips out of place, or you and so you're walking like an old man. That may not happen. It just may be gradually the bottom of the spine's twisting a little bit, and, you know, a little accumulation of aggravation. So doing some balancing to the pelvis. So you can go in with me for a second. If there's a line, then we leave. If there's one person, I'd stay. But if there's two people, then not.
Hashtag government building.
All right, everybody. The yoga app is in the folder, and you can check out my yoga videos there. There's a free trial, and some of my best content organized really nice for you. Jay Guru Dev.